Okay. Ready.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of
Hijas con Propósito, One God, Two Mics. So today we have a special guest. His name is Joe Donis. He's a pastor, a friend, a father, everything in between. Hi, how are you? How are you doing?
Hey, how are you guys doing? Thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thank you for coming.
Yeah, I'm actually really honored, and I have a big smile on my face because like I started following you guys from day one.
Yeah,
So it's
true.
like I'm really honored to be here and be invited to be with you guys.
Oh,
We're
thank you for
excited-
coming.
Yeah. We're definitely excited to have you on. We're nervous, but
okay.
excited to hear what you have to say.
Mhm.
I think I'm more nervous than you girls maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
I think
Oh,
after this happens to us
yeah.
all the time, but after like we start going, like we like calm down. Like it gets
True.
easier. It gets
Okay.
easier.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's okay. It's just for right now.
Yeah. Before anything, can I just say I honor you girls for like just being full transparent on your podcast.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
Like,
Thank
and
you.
I love that. So when you
Thank
guys asked me,
you.
I was honored,
Uh-huh.
and I was like, that's why I'm nervous because I'm like, and you guys will hear as you guys ask me questions that I come from a generation where we're not as transparent. So thank
Yeah.
you guys for just allowing me this space where we can be fully transparent and be open
Yes.
and honest. So thank you.
Thank
No
you
problem.
for
Thank you.
complimenting us on
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
I never realized that.
No, me either.
Mm-mm.
I guess I never thought about it that way too.
Yeah.
Where it's like a different generation where people like aren't as transparent, like you're saying. And for me personally, I like to tell everyone my
Like
chisme.
everything?
Yeah.
And we'll
But
talk
yeah.
about that because I want to share with you guys some stuff too.
Of course.
But can I kind of take over for a little bit before we
Go
even
ahead.
jump in?
Go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah.
So one of the things I like doing everywhere I go, I like setting trends and I don't like following trends.
Okay.
So one of the things that God put in my heart many years ago is that instead of me talking about voids that I see, I actually act upon the voids that I see. So one of the things that as I started following your podcast and I shared, I think with you girls and I shared with Ariana's parents and I was like, hey, that back wall looks pretty empty. So I was like, okay. And I was telling them off camera, I was like, wait, that frame is really high and I can't see it. So we can be so negative, right? And talk about these different
Yeah.
things. But I said, I want to start a trend. And I want to
Okay.
be the first one to set this trend. And I
Okay.
said, the first thing I want to do is when you get invited guests, I think we should do something where we honor you and we bring you a gift. And I
Oh.
think how cool would it be if we brought you gifts? You don't have to put them up here, but you do a wall. So I was asking you girls, and I brought you a gift that if
Okay.
you want to open it up, and you don't
Okay.
have to put it up, but I think it would be cool, like if you got space on your back wall to be able to do it.
Wait,
Can we
can we open it?
You can open it, yeah, for sure.
Here.
No, open it.
Oh, I was
Something
like,
so we can hear you.
no, I'm just opening it. Wait, I want to see.
Wait.
I can't read it.
Take it out the plastic wrap, and you don't have to put it up, but maybe you want to put it up on your other walls that you don't see
Today
it.
only happens once. Make it a hat.
Make it amazing.
Oh, amazing.
Wait, that's so nice. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, we're literally okay. We were thinking, so we have okay. Don't look too into it down there, but there's a. It's because we put that up, that corkboard thing, and it's supposed to go right behind you, where we're supposed to put pictures of all of our guests that we have. And it's supposed to say "Welcome, Joe," but it fell when we were filming. Before my mom got here, it fell and it broke one of our other frames that are down there. So that was supposed to be up, but
That didn't work out.
yeah.
But now
so
we have this.
Now we have that,
Thank
so
you.
we'll
Now
put
you
that
have
up
that.
too.
Yay.
There
Thank
you go.
you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
That's really nice. If we're gonna get into gifts, should we give them?
Yeah, might as
Okay,
well.
we got you a
We
little
got you a
gift
little
also.
gift.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate you. Oh my God.
Nothing too big, but we hope you
Let
like
me
it.
just
lot
tell
of
you,
those.
this lets you know my age.
Uh-huh.
This is something that my daughter's actually been making fun of me
What?
because I bought it for her a couple months ago.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know what these were
Oh.
until I realized what they are now.
Yeah.
And she explained to me, and that made me feel super old. So it's
Why?
you can drink and you could use as a straw at the
Yeah.
same time.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. I was like, we were at the store,
Yeah.
and I'm like, and she looked at me and she's like, "Dad, you're a boomer."
Oh,
And I said, "Wow." Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you. Now I'm cool.
Yeah, now you know. Oh, there's something else in there though.
Oh, let's keep looking. Oh, there we go. We're not gonna give promotion, but there's a gift card in here to go eat, and I'm gonna take my beautiful wife to eat. So we're not gonna promote unless they're gonna sponsor you. Then we can go ahead.
We'll wait for that sponsorship.
We'll wait for that.
So let's bring it out. Maybe they want to sponsor cheesecake. Send it over.
There you go.
Send your sponsorship over. They're promoting you, so
yeah, might as well.
There you go.
You want to tell the people watching a little bit more about you?
Yeah, for sure. I think it's I'm a talker, so you guys feel free to cut me off and we can jump in and ask questions. I think that's what makes podcasts really cool. But let me tell you, I am a second generation Latino born in the United States. My parents are Guatemalan. I am the second of 3 children. Nice. Grew up in South Central LA. Grew up in a Christian household. Grew up in church in a denomination that we're very familiar with. And in this denomination grew up. God opened many doors. I met my beautiful wife, Nellie, which has been the love of my life for 23 years now. We've been married for 23 years, but we met her growing up in church. We were able to do ministry at a young age, and then we were able to go ahead and kind of jump off the cliff and see where God was going to take us and fly. And we got married very young, and we've been doing ministry ever since. Nice. That's in a nutshell kind of like our story, right?
Right. Yeah. What about because I know you're a pastor's kid. That's I don't know too much, but I know you're a pastor's kid. What's your take on that? Like just growing up in the church and having to go through that.
So I will tell you, I to me, so many people have negative aspects of what it is to be a pastor's kid. They talk about the negative stories, and I can go into so much about the negative. But really, if I talk about the positive, I had an open door that not many people had into ministry, and I didn't even know it. But I was exposed to so much ministry at such a young age that I didn't even know it. I thought it was like a cool environment that I would go with my dad everywhere he went, and I was able to get free food at people's houses. I was able to taste different abuelitas cookings, you know, and he was visiting people's hogares and their homes and stuff, but I was just going to eat. I was just going to hang out with them. But we were able to do ministry in that sense, and I didn't even know it. I was going as a kid to play with the other kids. And then even that, a platform of being a pastor's kid, this is where people see the negative, right? They see most pastors' kids will understand this, and Ariana, you'll understand this more than anyone else, is sometimes it feels like you got to work harder to make people believe your calling, because they say, oh, well, because your dad was a pastor, he gets a freebie. So I had to work harder. I used to see that as a negative thing. Right. I actually love it. I love the fact that now I'm so resilient that I don't depend on people's opinions as God calls me now that I'm older. Whereas like, I really don't care what people think. Like they look at me, they may have an opinion of me. And it's like that season of grooming of pastor's kid taught me to, even if I work harder, it really doesn't matter. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to give my whole heart and I'm going to serve. Yeah. And then again, there's a lot of negative things, right? And if I can share that with you, some of those negative things might be, I always tell people as a pastor's kid, I shared my parents with the church. So, and your all says a lot, right?
Yeah, I never looked at it like that, but that's true.
Like I always tell people, I was always the last one to open up my Christmas presents, because we would go to everyone else's house. And then if there was leftover time, 3-4 o'clock in the morning when we got home, then I would open mine. And I was like, and it felt sometimes like, wait, so who's more important, they are or me? So a little bit of that aspect, but nothing too bad.
I have a stereotype, if I can share with you guys. I just had it mentally. But like, I think I would always see it as you guys, I would see pastors' kids in general just like as lucky, in the sense of like, for me, I started getting into church later, right? Getting into my faith. But I always thought like, oh, now I have to learn like the Bible on not on my own, but kind of. And I feel like as a pastor's kid, you guys, and I may be wrong, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys had that, like, you guys had to sit through church your whole life, so it's there. Like, the knowledge is just almost there because you had to listen to it so much.
Yes and no. Yes, but what happens is that it becomes, you become desensitized to it. So you hear it so much, and that's where so many pastors' kids get disconnected from church because they hear it, but they never did the work for them to have their own personal relationship with Jesus.
Right.
So what it is they know the word, but they're not filled with the word. So there's so many kids out there that, yes, it's true. They're hearing it from their parents so much. I mean, we used to have prayer nights with my mom, right? Every Monday night we would go ahead and we would read Psalms 91, and that was our thing, right? Not until, I'll be honest with you, I'm 42 years old. Not until I was almost 40 did I fully understand what Psalms 91 stands for. And I needed to go through a very dark season in my life to not only be filled with the word, but live the word. And I think that's where a lot of people misunderstand that.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, because I just always thought of that, right? Not always, but like as of recently, I kind of like that thought came into my head, and I was like, maybe because I felt like I'm saying, I feel like I have to like relearn it, or not but like learn it on my own. But thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
What made you, like you're saying, someone has to have a relationship with God? What made you really connect and have that relationship with God, as opposed to just being a pastor's kid and knowing these things?
I think for me, a relationship with God started when I noticed the lack of mentors in my life. And when I say lack of mentors, I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about when I was younger. I had so many people as a pastor's kid that surrounded me, but were churchgoers and not necessarily people that were willing to disciple me. I had a friend that recently wrote a book. He's in Mexico. And he wrote a book, and I love the title of his book. And he said, "Be the friend you wish you would have had." And I started realizing that in my relationship with Jesus, I wanted to have a relationship that I wish people around me would have had. So what does that mean? It's like I heard so many people around me that spoke church language, but never lived it. Couldn't stop and would talk about God's love, but never share, right? So I wanted to encounter that love. It's like, all right, if I see so much negativity out there, like so many people hurt out there, like what can I do to encounter that love? So I think that encouraged me. That was one of them. The second one is I love when people tell me no.
Okay.
So I am fueled by people telling me no. So when we talk about the God of the impossible, like that is me. Like I love like I'm about to show you really quick, and I'm gonna trust in God for the impossible. So I would step in front of hurdles that would be like, all right, God, you can't make me look dumb right now. Like you need to show up right now. And that made my faith grow a lot, even at a young age, because I would be the crazy one that would probably, you guys know my parents. My dad lost all his hair probably because of me, because I was the crazy one. I'm the crazy child. Yeah.
What do you think is, like I was telling Shirley, I feel like our whole life is a testimony, right?
Yeah.
But what do you think is your biggest testimony, like that impacted your life the most?
It's kind of crazy, and not to be the negative one, but I think my darkest moments. Everyone talks about the positive, right? Like an encounter at the altar.
Yeah.
And I can tell you those moments. Those were good moments that I got to know Jesus. There's a story when I was 13 at a summer camp where I came to know Jesus at a camp that I was dragged to by my parents. And it was the last morning of camp. And I remember a word just like, someone was dragged up here, and God speaking to you is not too late. And I accepted Jesus that day, and I got my calling that day. So it's a positive thing.
Right.
But I always remember there's this story of David where he's in a cave, in a dark cave, and Saul is after him to kill him. And someone preached a sermon years ago, about 30 years ago, that really impacted my life. He said something like along the way of, David went in as a man, but his leadership was tested the moment he had the opportunity to kill Saul in a dark cave. And he said, and he didn't kill him, and he came out being king that day. So to me, it's like the darkest moments
Right.
that I found difficult. That if I'm sincere with you, if I'm open, honest with you, because we didn't do this in church growing
Right.
up, those are the moments I wanted to quit the most.
Yeah.
And those are the moments where I wanted to turn from my faith. And those are the moments I would write multiple resignation letters to my senior pastor and be like, here, I don't want to do this no more.
Yeah.
And those were the moments that really shaped me to take a next step. I thank God for the positive,
Yeah.
but I thank God because he molded my character in the darkness. So those are the moments that really impacted my life.
Got you. Sorry.
No, you're good.
The card threw me off guard. What do you think one of those dark moments was?
It varies. There's moments in everyone's season, right? So like what's a dark moment now that I'm over 40 years old was not as dark. It seemed darker when I was 13, right? So I'll give you like a dark moment that I tell everyone. That was like my launching pad. I came down from that camp where I accepted Jesus. I got my calling. God had given me a very specific prophetic calling over my life and over my future. And I came down, and my dad's a pastor. So I'm like, Dad, God's called me to ministry. I'm going to believe in it. And he said, not now. And I literally remember I got in a dark hole that I'm not going to call it depression, but I got in my own head and I said, dude, my dad doesn't even believe in me. I hear him encouraging everyone around me, but not me. Really what it was is he was telling me, you're not ready. Years later, I come to find out people like Paul, everyone thinks he fell off the horse and the next day he was preaching. He actually needs to go through some year of mentorship, right? Now that I'm older, like we went through a tough season, a dark season recently in our lives. After every dark season, God always shines his rainbow, right? And you know about Noah and stuff in the Bible. So I will tell you, this darkest season was very tough. And it's like, to get out of that season, it's like, wow, it's scary to see how God molds different things, where now I am the person that I challenge every Christian theory out there. So like, I'll give you an example. In this last season, I had a lot of friends that I thought were my friends. But when I was in that dark season, they all disappeared.
Yeah.
I've had people with the title of pastors and ministers that told me, in your dark season, I will walk with you and I will stand with you. And we're going to do life together. And I can show you my phone. I haven't got one call or one text from them. And I was like, and I was mad. I'll be honest with you, I was angry. But now I come to realize at the other side of that dark hole is like, no, but now I want to be that pastor that when I say I'm going to walk with you, I'm going to walk with you. And I'm going to be there with you. So you see how different the seasons changed?
Yeah.
And it shaped me.
How do you use that to like guide your church?
Yeah, like I said, I think I try to be the pastor I wish I had. So number one is I can be a pastor that could sit down and we can go out and hang out. And that's a leadership foe that a lot of pastors say, don't ever hang out with church people because don't let them so much into your life. But I want to be that pastor that I wear my heart on my sleeve. Like, I want to laugh with you. I want to joke with you. I want to do fun stuff with you. I want to know your story. Like, it interests me. Like, on the patio on the weekend, I'll ask you, tell me your story. When I have dinner with you, tell me a little bit about yourself. So I want to know who you are, because I wish someone would ask me, like, tell me your story. Tell me what you're about. So I use that. The second thing I do is when I preach, like, I preach very specific on trying to hit topics that I wish would have helped me be a better person filled with God. Where I think sometimes and this is not to critique anyone else because everyone has their own ministry, right? Sometimes we do the opposite. And it's like, there's people that know so much word but can't live it. Where I rather teach you little word, but you start applying the little that you know.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to do when I preach. Is like, I'm not going to give you a theological, exegesis of a verse, and you're not going to understand ni papas of what I told you, but you're going to be able to apply. If you came to church on Sunday and you can't apply something on Monday, then I just wasted your Sunday.
Mm.
So that's the way I do ministry.
I want to give you your flowers on that, because even I literally went to one church service of yours and I saw you talking to literally every single person at the end of the night. Like literally everyone. We would turn and it was a different person, turn another person. So I can definitely attest to that you do try to connect to your church, and I see that. What is a goal you have for your church? I know your church is Generaciones Church in Spanish. So what's a goal you have for your church?
Yeah, shout out to Generations Church.
Yeah.
We still don't know. We're still kind of like, are we Generaciones, Generations Español?
Yeah.
We still don't know. So I'll tell you this. Growing up, our whole life, I've battled. I've battled with an identity of what my calling is.
Okay.
So growing up in a Pentecostal denomination where I believe in the fulfillment of the Holy Spirit, I believe in the gifts of the Spirit. I thought my calling was very Pentecostal, screaming and yelling and falling over, right? That's what I thought it was. And then God took us in a season where we went to an Anglo-American church where they were very structured.
Yeah.
Like extremely structured, like super organizational, to a point where it's very executive, where the way we were running church. So in this current season, I would tell you a healthy church is a church that knows how to balance both.
Okay.
So a church that is filled with God's presence and ultimately is very structured. So our heart and our desire is to love on people, but not to waste their time. Like if you come to our church and you make a decision of faith and you make a decision to follow Jesus, we want to have a discipleship program, right?
Yeah.
So, and I think most churches just develop it as it goes, where we want to be structured in a sense of we already have it for you. We would talk about build community. Well, how do you build community? And the church I grew up in is like, well, you go figure it out. Where I want to say, no, there's these 6 different areas where you can already connect into community and build community.
Yeah.
So it's ultimately doing that. That's the ultimate goal for our church, a healthy environment where we're able to balance both. Because in a healthy community, a church body, you're going to have different kind of people. And your generation that are now going to school, the first generation Latinos that migrated from our countries, have very minimal education. So they go with it, they run with it. But now I'm talking to you guys that are professionals. Well, my generation, they went to school, and their first generation, they're college graduates, they have careers. Now you guys are doctors. And like a doctor, I'm not going to be like, well, come to church, I'm gonna have a 3-hour service and I don't know what happened.
Yeah.
Like you want structure, right? So you see the difference? I'm trying to create that balance, or God's really calling us to create that balance.
If I can ask for advice, I feel like our church is still, and this is not to bash or anything, because I love our church. It's still, I think, a little bit old school. And I have this struggle where I want to invite friends over. Maybe they're Catholic. Maybe they just have never been to a Pentecostal church. I feel like I get that like nervousness of be like, hey, come to my church. But there's going to be screaming. There's going to be falling over. There's going to be craziness. And like, I don't know if you maybe ever invited a friend that has not like doesn't know about that, right? Has never experienced that. How would you handle that?
What's interesting, you asked me that question because those are the moments where I'm telling you that you guys are so transparent and open.
Yeah.
So at my age, when I was like 14, 15, a teenager, number one, if I would have asked that question, it was considered blasphemy and talking bad about the Holy Spirit.
Really?
Because you're like, how are you making fun of the screaming and the yelling? So what happened is all these questions at my young age that I had, I never asked them,
Right.
because it was looked bad upon, or like, oh, you're questioning God. So I learned to just suppress those. And to be honest with you, my generation didn't invite their friends because we didn't have a space to be able to ask these questions.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't invite anyone
Yeah.
because we didn't have an answer for it. So we would just like, well, that's weird. Like they scream, they yell. And a lot of times I hadn't had an encounter like that with God. So I would just judge based on a point of view that I hadn't encountered yet. So if you haven't encountered that yet, you're inviting someone over and they're like, well, I have these questions, and you can't give them an answer, right?
Right.
But I would tell you, you use that term old school mentality. I would tell you, let me clarify that. It's not an old school mentality. It's the identity of your church.
Right.
And I grew up in quote unquote what we would call old school mentality church. But I thank God for that old school mentality church, because that old school mentality church, the Bible that I know today was fundamentally taught to me in an old school mentality church. In Spanish, they call it rajatablas, right?
Okay.
But they taught me, like even at a young age, what estudio bíblicos are, what esgrimas bíblicos, learn Bible verses, right? As I got older, I can use these Bible verses in my daily living because they taught it to me. Now, is it my style of worship? Maybe not. Like, the big thing is it, would I dress like that? Probably I wouldn't, right? There's different dynamics, decoration, right?
Yeah.
I remember the first time I brought a colored light to church. They're like, is this a club? Like, what is this, right? I remember the first time I told my pastor, I said, I want to put a black backdrop. He's like, no, we preach light, not darkness. Like, so many things, right? So I get that contrast of what you're going through. And I would tell you, be wise when you invite people over. Like, so I'll give you an example. Youth services, young adult nights are good moments for people that are in your community to come into, because what happens is they get to meet the community and then they're open to the service, right?
Right.
So that's why I'm a big proponent of small groups. So my background is I come from a church where we used to say 300% of our church is in small groups. So they haven't even come to our church. They've been in your house. They got to meet people. They know your friends. They know your family. And when they get to the screaming, yelling church, when they walk in through the door, the first thing they're going to feel is loved by the people they already met outside of church. And then they're open to receive the word. And then it goes into the screaming and yelling, right? Which is the movement of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
But the problem is, you invite a friend over. They already feel like the outcasted. They don't know no one.
Right.
You're probably serving at a church, so you're running around. They're probably out somewhere. And they're sitting by themselves. No one greets them at church. And they're like, I'm the weird one. I'm dressed different. So I already feel out of place. Then they go up and they play music. And it's like, wait, do I clap? Do I like, is it a concert? Do I hoo-hoo? Like, what do I do, right? And then this guy talks for 45 minutes to an hour. I don't understand what he's saying. And then they go into screaming. So if you notice, it's awkwardness upon awkwardness. And it's just like, I'm weirded out. But it's a time for everything, right? So that's what I would encourage you to do.
Thank you. You mentioned sharing God's love earlier. How do you do that, like, out in public?
It's easy. So as Christians, we've become great storytellers. And all we do is tell stories about something Jesus did 2,000 years ago. And I don't think the world's necessarily looking for that story. They're looking to see if, because a lot of people think Jesus is still dead. He's looking to see what he did in your life today. So it just starts with a simple smile. Hey, how are you doing? How's your day? Like, your generation is very worse than my generation in the sense that you go to a supermarket and you can't even say hi to people, right? So start off there. Secondly, is like, they want to hear your story. What did God do in your life? And let me caveat here. I grew up in a generation where the church spent a lot of energy focused on people that had this great story, like about drinking and alcohol and this crazy life. And I always thought my story as a pastor's kid growing up in church wasn't worth telling.
Oh,
like
it's like a boring testimony.
Yes. And I felt like, wait, like, I don't have this crazy story. And I can't share it. But then I started thinking, what if I share my story from a point of view of what God has protected me from? And I tell stories now of, like, I remember God sent us in a season to go pastor in Los Angeles. And we were pastoring close to the neighborhood where I grew up in. And I'm never going to forget the one time. It was a midweek service. I had drove out to LA after work. And I'm going through the drive-through. And passing through the drive-through, I don't think I'm extremely financially blessed, but I think God's been so good to us, and we have everything we need. Right. And I'm driving out and I see one of my high school friends that's a homeless. And I said, wow, God, you've really blessed me. Yeah. Like, you've protected me from some things that could have been me. Yeah. So now I share that story. It's like, don't think about your story having to be crazy and you're having to go out there and live it. Let's talk about the story, what God's protected you from. Yeah. Let's talk about the story where God has you today. So that's how I share my story.
Yeah, I agree with that, because I do come from that, like, oh, party, crazy, whatever. But I told Ariana too, like, I think even before we started the podcast, like, I think it's such a blessing that you guys got protected from all of that. Like, I wish that on everybody. Like, for all the people that I know now, like, obviously, I feel like once I started going to church and getting more into my relationship with God, I was like, I want everyone to feel this love, right? And I don't want them to go through what I had to go through. There's something one of our hermanos said in church, like, quiero que vengan a Dios con lazos de amor, not through traumas or whatever. So that's how I see it too. I'm like, you guys are so blessed that you guys didn't have to go through all those crazy things, right? So I definitely agree with that.
And God heals that, but let me add to that. As a pastor, I can tell you, I've seen people that God can heal hearts, but I don't know why pastors are afraid to talk about certain things from past, right? So you'll understand this because that's your story. And I followed your podcast, so I know. And I love how vulnerable you are. And I love that. But there's also emotional health behind it. There's mental health behind it. Like, people don't understand that there's some sort of trauma that comes from past stories that God's protected us from. Yeah. And God's obviously always going to be working in your life. But God wants to use those moments in your life to connect with someone. So I'll give you an example. You know, I've never been addicted to drugs, but I know many people that are. So guess what? When they come to my church as a pastor, I'll pray for them. Yeah. I'll love on them. I'll hug them. And I can tell them how God wants to restore their life and all the things they're going to go through, right? But there's nothing like saying, hey, come over this person that's already lived it and they can share their story and their journey. Not that their story is going to be the same, but at least like, hey, if God did it in me, he could do it in you. Yeah. So you see how they shared their story? Yeah. But God's using even those moments to say, hey, this is your story. Yeah.
That was a question I had. Like, how do you relate to someone that you haven't gone through the same thing? And that's really good. You know someone now with that, not like you said, not same, but something similar. So that's good to know.
But it all starts with going back to that thing that I told you. I got to know their stories, right? So there's pastors that don't know people's stories. Yeah. Like, they haven't even sat at their house. Like, hey, broken marriages, whatever it is. And it's like, someone comes with a broken marriage. I know the couple you got to sit down and have dinner with. But it takes that moment to get to know the people you're pastoring and you're leading. Let me tell you, going back to kind of what I said at the beginning, thank you for being so vulnerable and so honest. So, like, let me tell you, you girls are living in a generation where this generation lives for the clicks and the likes. Yeah. And I could give you a lot of snippets that you can cut up and you can use on Instagram for cheeseman, and people will go like, oh, like if I was to tell you, guys, if I can just tell you the things I've seen behind closed doors, if I can tell you what I've seen at denominations, right? But I love the fact that you've kept it so vulnerable and honest. Yeah. That your story is your story. And you don't need to fake it to make it. Right. We are currently living in a season, in a generation where your generation, there is revival going on. Revival. Like, I'm talking about like, and I'm not talking about revival like jumping hoopla, like, woo, we want to be in church all the time. Like, you guys are doing something that my generation didn't do. Like, you guys are chasing after God and seeing God's presence, right? Yeah. But sometimes us as pastors, we do a bad job of trying to sugarcoat the gospel for you guys. And you guys are turned off by church because we jump through all these loopholes to try to be relevant. And I love the fact that I wish us as pastors can be as honest and transparent as you girls are, that we can preach the gospel and not have to sugarcoat it and be honest and sincere and straightforward, because you guys are going to fact check us. So I want you guys to know, as much as maybe there's people like myself or other pastors you guys look up to, we look up to you because your generation is vulnerable and transparent. So thank you for that.
Thanks. I don't know why, but that what you said reminded me of like, I feel like I've been seeing people say turning Christian right now is becoming a trend. Do you see that?
It's not a trend. So let me answer it this way, in a sense that to some people it is a trend. It's cool to wear the shirt and everything, right?
Right, yeah.
So again, I'm telling you, I'm coming out of a dark season where I question everything. I went to a church service maybe about 2-3 years ago where I heard a preaching, and in this preaching there was a man that I called him muletas, or what's it called when you use the, like you break your leg and the crutches. And he literally preached maybe about 15 minutes, and for about 40 minutes he used this crutch and like to play with people's emotions. And he would scream, "We're Pentecostal," and people, "Woo, yeah." Right. And I questioned, and I got in my car not to question God's word, but I questioned and I said, but he didn't give what example of what it is to be filled with Pentecost. Like, Pentecost is not feeling emotion. The Bible says that you will know them by their spirit or by their fruits, right? So I think we're at a generation where you guys are being filled and you're being called, and people are coming to Jesus, and literally like the fruits are there. There's there's events where you guys are filling up the Coliseum. You guys are filling up events. You know, my son goes to this Monday night event where it's filled up with young adults, and they're chasing after God. They're praying after God. My generation can't get to church on time. Like my generation, like they have a hard time just showing up to service. Like your generation is like, where's the next prayer night? Where's like at our church we have a cafe in the lobby, and I love it because when I first started at this church, they said every other church is closed during the week. Their lights are dark. All the offices are closed. Because of the coffee shop, our church is always open. And it's like, I was like, okay, well, you know, is it really always open? And I started realizing every time I'm in the office, there is always someone from your generation having a Bible study. They want to go get their coffee, their little tea, their matcha, which is like burnt grass. And
it's amazing burnt grass.
It's terrible. It's earthy. It's like eating dirt. But they're having their matcha with their Bible study. And I'm like, my people can't even get to church on time. So that's true revival, right? Like even when the church is closed, you guys are open. So now I can talk about Pentecost, which sometimes we limit it to a church service. But Pentecost is being filled with the Spirit and searching after Him and a hunger to be filled with Him. And you guys are doing that.
That's true. I feel like that's where I struggled a little bit, maybe. I'm just outing everything. Our church, like, we don't have that, but I think that's something we're striving for, right? Where Ariana's now like the district leader, she's the youth leader at our church, and that's something where we're striving for, to get more community with our Hispanic churches where we don't have those like maybe small groups. That's something we're striving for. But in the beginning I was like, where do I fit in here? Because I am like I'm older. I'm 28. I say that a lot. I am 28, but like our youth groups go from like 13 to 18. Well, they go obviously to older, but there's no section for like maybe a young adult. So that's where I struggled, and I was like, where do I fit in here? Because I did try going to different churches where I was like, oh, this is a cool church and I like it, but I was always called back to like our church. I don't know why, because that's where God wants me. But I did feel maybe a little bit outcasted because I'm like, there's no section for like a young adult per se. But I do think that's something we're striving for to implement more.
So let me add to that, because I've dealt with the same identity crisis where growing up in the Latino church, because my first language is Spanish, I was never Latino enough for my Spanish church.
Right. Yeah.
I would finish preaching and they didn't care what I preached. They care about how many times I messed up in Spanish. I would get down and people had a list of my errors and my mistakes. Wow. So I wasn't Latino enough. Then I went to an Anglo-American church and I was the golden child. They wanted to take pictures because I was the brown kid. I was the multicultural kid, right? And I was like, what the heck is going on? I would encourage you that every time God shows you that is because he's calling you girls to build something that's a void there. And that's what I've learned in my life.
Yeah.
Every time God calls you for something is because he's calling you to build something. Someone told me this, and maybe this is a seed that I'll spread in your heart. God's calling you, and he's using you to build a church that one day your kids are going to want to come to. Because I'll be honest with you, my kids would not want to go to my father's church. They just won't.
Yeah.
Language, culture, my father still like his examples are about Guatemala, what they used to do back then. Like they don't know the culture of what it is to, like, I remember for me to go to high school prom, I had to lie because it was a sin. Everything was a pecado, right? So I said, it's a dinner for the graduating class. It was a dinner, but they didn't understand the concept of prom, right? So now with my daughter, like, I know what prom is. Like, I'm gonna be full transparent, right? So I can lead from that aspect. So I will tell you that God's calling you to do something. I love the fact that you're going out and you're building it. Don't ever don't focus, or don't let the enemy refocus your attention from what you don't have, and let him focus on what you do have, what God's given you. So Moses, perfect example. He said, what are you holding in your hands? He's like, I can't talk, I can't speak, so, but what are you holding in your hands? Like, I'm going to use what you got to take God's people to the next level. And if I can just preach for a little bit, just Exodus chapter 3, I was talking about it this weekend at church. There's a moment where Moses is messed up. He's literally in the desert running away because he is literally, if you pay attention to today's world, he's a messed up kid. He was abandoned by his mother. You see, they taught me a different story. They taught me he got put in a little nice basket. And someone took him, loved him. No, he was abandoned by his mother. He's an adopted child. You don't think he had some mental issues because he looked different than the people that were around him? So he had an identity crisis. Then he's like, wait, I look like the slaves, but I'm the king or the prince of the slaves. And then he kills someone and he's a murderer. I said, in today's church, they would have let him through the doors.
Right.
And he gets to chapter 3 in Exodus, and he's in front of the burning bush, and the first thing God tells him is, take off the sandals off your feet. In other words, take off all the mental limitations that the enemy has put in you, because I'm going to take you on an adventure where you're really going to get to know me now. Like, it's not what you've lived through, it's what you're going to live through. Now I'm going to show you, you were that. The enemy called you that. But I'm about to show you the man that parted the sea. I'm going to show you the man that stood before Pharaoh and said, hey, this is what I'm going to do. Like, you see, and that's what happens. Sometimes God calls us, and it's like, there's so many Christians that don't do nothing because they're still focused on their past. And that's your story. But God wants to give you a new story. He wants to use you for bigger and greater things. You just got to be willing to do it. So
I'm speechless.
That's good.
No, I think I do get stuck on that, where it's like sometimes I'm like, oh, like all these things maybe that I went through, and I get stuck on that, right? But then I do think about these things that I want to do, and I get like almost like stuck. But I do know that God is calling me for these things. I'm like, I can't. And something I've been praying about is like walking through it without, like, with full faith. Like, I think I've gotten stuck on like, I get word at church and I'm like, oh, this feels so good. But then like it goes away for a while, right? But I've been praying where I'm like, God, take away that, like, that I need to have that need for just getting word at church at the altar. I want to walk in full faith, like, without having to need that.
Can I be full transparent with you? Sometimes we become spiritual junkies. And what happens is that we go to church and we get our little shot and we feel the fix. And we're like, I'm called. And then it fades away. And I think that's the difference, where I really feel God's leading us in a different direction in this generation, where God's, as pastors nowadays, are encouraging to fuel your generation to say, like, I've heard your podcast, right? You've talked about relationship. So what if God is fueling for you to go back to school to become a therapist to help young women like yourself? What if God, you talk about dating on this podcast. Like, I don't know why people are so afraid. What if you did a fast dating at church? Like, of course like they say, oh, that's not spiritual. But where are you going to find a man if you don't create a space for it?
Exactly.
God's calling you to create that space. So don't look at those things as holding you back. Look at it as a fuel to what God's calling you for.
Right. Yeah.
If you guys don't ask me, I'm going to ask you. Because I think one of the things my generation lacked is, and I remember I heard this phrase, they said the moment you stop learning is the moment you start dying. So you always got to have a learner mentality. But it's also the same thing the Bible says, that we got to have an open heart to be discipled, right? So, like, if you guys don't ask me, I'm going to start asking you guys. And I got so many things, because I don't necessarily want to be relevant, but I want to have a passion and an understanding to understand a generation that needs so much of Jesus and is looking for Jesus.
Right.
They're just looking at him in the wrong places.
I'll ask. But okay, I mentioned like that I had heard that Christianism is becoming a trend. How would you discern who's doing it for the likes, the clicks, versus someone who really wants to get close to God?
That's actually a really great question. And I'm gonna answer it from my experience, right? Everyone's experience is very different.
Yeah.
As a pastor's kid, I grew up serving in the church. So I told you my story of coming to camp, and I felt I'm getting ready to preach. What people don't know is that for years, I was my dad's janitor at the church. So guess who was the one cleaning toilets while everyone went home? It was me.
Yeah.
Guess who was the one that was there early and who had to, well, the musicians hadn't come to set up the instruments. Who's setting it up? I am, right? So what happened is that I grew up in a generation where there was no stage and no platform. The only social media that came out until I was married already was something called MySpace. And everyone was friends with Tom, right?
Yeah.
Everyone was friends
We
with
love Tom.
Yeah, we love Tom. I don't know where he's at now. Apparently not on Facebook.
No, right.
He didn't make it. He didn't make it to Facebook. But so
Is it bad to ask who's Tom?
oh man,
That makes me feel
so that does make me feel extremely old, Ariana.
You should have seen my reaction. I went, ooh, who's Tom?
We'll get to Tom.
Okay.
Tom was our Facebook of our generation.
Oh.
Cooler, much cooler than Facebook.
way cooler.
Cause Facebook, y'all messed up. Y'all don't let us change our backgrounds
Or the music.
or nothing. See, you gotta go back and you gotta go look at it, Ariana.
Okay. We'll search it up later.
Yeah. So we didn't have that platform of MySpace till later, right? So they really taught us how to serve. So now in the pastoral role, I gotta be careful, because there is that. It has to be discernment of finding out who wants it for clicks. And I'll tell you, not that I test people, but it usually. So I explain it this way. This is the best way I could explain it to you. Back in the days, I don't know why it was so famous, but there was a movie called The Titanic. You probably looking at me like,
No, I know the movie. I've never seen it, but I know the movie.
it's super long.
Anyway.
Like
It's
your
like
generation sees it on Netflix, right? My
Yeah.
generation used to have to buy DVDs,
Oh.
and it was so long that it didn't fit on one DVD.
Oh,
It came on
That's right.
parts.
I forgot about
So it was
that.
a long movie, right? But the story of this boat is that they built this beautiful boat, incredibly beautiful, but it had never been tested in water. So they put it in the water, and in the first trip, it hit an iceberg, and obviously it sunk, right? It broke, it sunk. Ministry is almost the same way. There's a lot of pastors that, and I was just teaching a class about this last night, that there's leaders that have great charisma, but have no ability or no fulfillment of the Holy Spirit.
Right.
And what happens is, because they have charisma and they could connect with people, we send them off on their spiritual voyage to lead people. And halfway through the voyage, they collapse and they fall apart. And some of the biggest scandals in life and in church has been leaders that have not trained, mentor, and have sent leaders without a mentorship program, and we send them off on their voyage. And they collapse.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, if you only knew how many people, and I tell this story and they think it's hilarious, but it's the truth. And there's probably gonna be people on here that are gonna watch this and they're gonna be like, that's not true. I the way you guys challenge us, I'll challenge anyone. And they'll tell you. I've had so many people come to my house, sit in my living room. They know a little bit of our story and where we've come from. And they're like, Pastor Joe, we want you to mentor us. I'm called to ministry. I'm called to ministry. And you know, the first thing I tell them is read the New Testament. And when you're done, call me. Call me. How many people do you think called me?
1.
0. Not one person has called me.
Right.
And I'm like, how are you going to preach a gospel if you can't even read the story of Jesus?
Yeah.
And I didn't even send you off on your voyage. I just asked you, read the New Testament.
Yeah.
Like, it's not long.
Right.
Like, we read novels and books, right? So I'm like, just call me. And they won't call me. So in other words, right away, I'm like, it was emotional. You wanted a stage. You wanted a platform. You know, and it's like, you're not willing to put in the work.
Right.
So that's one of the ways I do it.
Yeah. That reminded me of something my sister said. She had told us, because she's a teacher, she was doing her student teaching, that her teacher, her teacher was like Christian as well. And her husband had read the Bible like so many times around. And she was like, the wife was like, I haven't read it once. She's like, how are we going to go to heaven, face God, and be like, we haven't even read his word? Like, that's true. That's insane. Something I also wanted to ask you, how have you handled maybe a season of waiting? Because you mentioned your testimony, how you went to camp, came back, and you weren't ready, right? How did you handle that season of like, I know I'm going to get there, but you're in that waiting season?
So there's a Bible verse that I know it since I was young, very young. Be still and know that I am God. See, and we're in a generation where everything is so fast paced that you're already thinking 3-4 steps ahead. Well, I'm like that. I'm already thinking about what I'm doing for Christmas, you know, and I'm like, where are we going to go? Are we going to travel this year? Are we going to go somewhere? Right. So I'm thinking way above and beyond, and I'm thinking few steps ahead.
Right.
So to be still and know that I'm God in those seasons of waiting, for me, like, I've realized that in those seasons of waiting is where God starts revealing himself in the areas that he needs to break and he needs to mold for the next season I'm waiting for. You get what I'm saying? It's like I when I was in school, I went back to school and I got my bachelor's. And when I was there, I took a class, and one of those classes, they said the spiritual disciplines, and they had me do a 1-day retreat, a silence retreat. And not only stay quiet, but that means no social media, no TV, no nothing. And I was like, 1 day. And that wasn't even overnight. It was just a 1 day. Like an hour into it, I realized I had an addiction to my phone. Yeah. And I had an addiction to, I needed to be heard. And I needed like reassurance. And I was like, 2 hours into it, I was almost shaking. Like, and then the enemy starts putting thoughts in your head like, so what if there's an emergency? What if they need to talk to me? What if they need to reach me? You know? And you start getting in your own head, and it's like God start breaking, like, who are you dependent on? Like, what is the things you need to do? And what I realized, and I tell you this story because it's the season I'm coming out of. In that season of waiting, God broke me. And even though I'm a talker and I talk so much, I'm in the season now where I tell people the biggest ministry that God's given me in this season that I am right now is to shut my mouth and listen. And it's called the ministry of being present. And there's times where a pastor just needs to shut his mouth and just listen. Like, and 4 or 5 years from ago, I probably wouldn't have been able to do that. Right. I probably would have, like, I want to talk. I was teaching that class that I'm telling you yesterday, and I told them, how many times in prayer, it's one direction, and we talk to God, and God's like, well, you're never going to hear my voice because you don't shut up. So he's telling us, be quiet, be still, and know that I am God. So in the moments of waiting, now I'm encouraged where it's like, all right, God, what you about to teach me? What you about to show me? Because it's a glimpse of what the next stage in my ministry is going to be. So I'm excited now because I'm like, okay, you're showing me something. You're waiting. That's just a glimpse of what you're getting ready to do in the next season. Right.
that scares me.
Mm-hmm.
Because now I'm thinking the obstacles that come with it. Because obviously there's going to be obstacles. I'm scared. What if I trip and fall? And like, I'm like, how do I get back up from that? Like, I feel like I'm getting maybe temptations from certain things where I'm like, God is breaking me, obviously. But how am I supposed to attack that hurdle maybe?
See, but that's a good question that your generation has and that my generation had.
Mm-hmm.
So my generation, the way we were taught is when you fall, you're unworthy of God's grace.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a sinner.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when people failed, they would publicly pass you to the altar and humiliate you.
Ooh.
And I just had an encounter on Facebook that I was sharing with some pastor friends.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother's a pastor. And I shared it with him. And I said, oh my God, please don't ever do this.
Mm-hmm.
Don't ever humiliate someone for their shortcomings.
Right.
And I said, so what we did, we masked it. So we were really good at sinning, failing, tripping, not trusting in God, questioning God, but we hid behind a religious mask.
Right.
And we never encountered it. So we're good. We're fine. It is what it is, right? What I would tell you, be vulnerable with your tripping. That doesn't mean go out and trip.
Right.
So in other words, we talk about God's grace, right? There's this generation that thinks that they can be clubbing on Saturday night and go to church and be forgiven. That's playing with God, right? But there's moments where we make bad decisions. Now, God loves you and he wants to pick you up and he wants to restore you.
Yeah.
Side note, there is consequences to bad decisions. That doesn't mean it's the enemy, because I'm tired of a church trying to blame the enemy for our bad decisions.
Right.
Like there's a story about the devil's outside the church and he's crying and he has tears in his eye, and this person comes into church and he's like, why are you crying? And he's like, inside the church there's a bunch of people blaming me for their bad decisions. And so there is consequences to bad decisions.
Right.
But I would tell you is be vulnerable and teach other people what you learned from your experience, because that's going to help you strengthen your relationship.
Yeah.
And that's going to help you be like, hey, we can do this. We can go and we can be.
Right. Thank you. Yeah. That scared me a little bit. No, I think we need to hear the hard truths also.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think there's preachers, churches or whatever where they have that charisma.
Right.
And I did experience that where I'm like, I see the charisma. It's fun. Yay.
Yeah.
Nice. But I do think we need to hear those hard truths of God is God at the end of the day.
Right.
So, yeah, we do need to hear that as well. Yeah.
I think sometimes we need to understand that we're spiritual parents, right? So what's a good spiritual parent? Like I have 2 kids. Shout out to Jacob and Zoe. Zoe was on the podcast not so long ago. She didn't shout me out, but I'm going to shout her out by name. Throwing it out there. But I'm not a discipliner like my parents. My mom was the discipliner. She's like, she disciplined me with whatever was around. That means whether it was a gancho or a cincho, that was discipline, right? My dad, as a pastor, he was the talker, and he used to talk for hours. So there was a moment where I started getting older where I was like, Mom, just hit me. Like, I would rather you just hit me and get it over with, right? But now as a father, I discipline because I want my kids to be better. And I don't discipline like with golpes. I'm like, hey, Papa, like I'm correcting you because I want you to be better.
Right.
I want you to be better than I am. I want you to learn from my experiences. And sometimes as pastors and leaders, we need to take that posture of, it might seem tough what I'm about to tell you. But the honest truth is, and you girls will, I don't know if you've encountered a pastor like this, but there's been moments where I've had to tell some men, and alongside my wife, I've had to tell some women, that person's no good for you. And I always preach this at church. And I just said it this weekend. I said, there's moments where God takes some friendships away from you.
Yeah.
There's no coincidence that sometimes you drop your phone and it breaks and you lose all your contacts on that phone. And it's because God is saying that's the only way you're going to delete that phone. And that's the only way you're going to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So in other words, he's correcting us. But sometimes we need to hear that.
Yeah.
Because if not, we keep going back. Like, no aprendemos a las buenas.
Right, exactly.
Nos gusta la
Yeah,
mala vida.
literally.
Yeah.
For real. Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing. You gave us a lot of advice, and I appreciate it. I think you gave me a lot of advice. But we appreciate it. Do you have anything you would like to share? Maybe advice for people that haven't came to God yet, but maybe want to?
I would tell you, in that sense, let me just say this.
Mm-hmm.
I always tell people that come to church, or maybe not come to church, we just encounter them anywhere.
Right.
Maybe call it whatever you want. Call it a 30-day challenge. Just trust God for something. Just trust Him.
Right.
Like, just, I know it sounds crazy for you to tell someone that doesn't know about God to trust Him, and you're telling them to put your trust on something they don't know nothing about. But I am assured, and like I have a conviction that even if it's just the size of a mustard seed, just the fact that, all right, that's a mustard seed,
Yeah.
God will show up. And I'm telling you, because I've lived it, God always, always, always shows up. Always shows up. And if I can encourage you with one piece of advice that I've learned in life, is dating. That is a huge thing. I know you ladies talk about it a lot. I'm telling you, I met my wife growing up in church, and we got married when I was 18. She was 19.
Yeah.
And in that season of us getting to know each other, we got married very young. And you might ask yourself, why did you get married very young? We got married young because we knew our calling over our life, and we knew where we were going, and we knew where we wanted to be. So what happened is, I remember one time I was going to go preach somewhere, and her dad could not stand me. He could not stand the pastor's kid, creído.
Yeah.
And we, like every Latino, I don't know why Latinos don't believe in dating, but we dated behind her parents' back.
Yeah.
And we were hidden, escondidas. You know?
Yeah.
We would see each other. We were high school sweethearts, and they didn't even know we were high school sweethearts.
That's funny.
Right?
Yeah.
But what happened is that we were able to make a decision not based on what we had, but where God was taking us. There's a generation out there that can't commit to a relationship because they're waiting until they have it all together.
Yeah.
They're waiting until they have the career, they have the money in the bank, they have the house. And I would tell you this, if you're waiting for that, then why get married? You don't need someone. So people see me now after 23 years of marriage, but I wasn't this when I was 18.
Right.
There was a woman that sat next to me, and we fought, we argued. She shaped me, she molded me. There's times where she had to pull my ears and say, you got to get lined up, you got to get correct, right? You got to correct what we got. So everything we've built to this point is something we've built together.
Right.
It's not something that I built on my own and now I'm ready to get married. That's something we built together.
Right.
And the problem is that your younger generation is so caught up in waiting to have everything built that's why the enemy is tempting you, and you fall into sin because I don't need to fully commit. If I sleep with someone for one night, I satisfied a little bit of my temptation, but I didn't give in all the way. And you're going to be playing that game for the rest of your life. Like, you either commit or you don't. And I would tell this younger generation, at a certain age, like, if you don't know, then you shouldn't be dating. Like, let me just clarify, because you might have some young ones here. We have a rule at home.
Yeah.
Our kids are not allowed to date until they're out of high school. Now, they probably talk to girls or guys or whatever. It is what it is. But I tell them not to, because guess what? If they start dating someone when they're in high school, they're going to date me. Like, who's going to buy their movie ticket? Mom and dad. I'm already married. Like, I don't need to go to the movies, right?
Right.
So when they get older, they can date. But I always tell them this. The more, like, my son's in college right now, I tell him, Papa, go to school. When you finish your bachelor's, now, when you were in high school, any girl would be interested, whatever it is. But when you go to college and you got a degree, now the quality of girls becomes a new caliber. Now go to school and finish your master's. Now the caliber of girls become other calibers, right? When you become a doctor, now you're picking from the elite group.
Right.
Now, any other little girl wants to come and holler at a doctor and be like, I ain't got time for you, right?
Yeah.
So again, it's almost the same thing. Not wait until you're ready, but what do you want to do? What are you going for? What are you going to build with someone? What are you going to do? So I would encourage that. Like, what does that look like? What's your calling? And it might be that there's some people that aren't committing because they're not ready to date.
Mm-hmm.
So as you're sharing on your podcast, share that. Share that. Like, dude, if you're not ready to date, then you're not ready to date. If you have any doubts, you're not ready to date. Lastly, especially for you girls, I always tell girls this.
Yeah.
That guy, see the way he treats his mom.
Yeah.
If he talks back to his mom and he throws the door at her and he slams the door at her, don't get surprised when he starts dating you and he starts mistreating you. So those are the little things, right, of dating that you start going through. So I would encourage you, those little things like that, like, don't be afraid to take Bible, apply it to your life, and see what God's teaching you from it. So I know I just kind of said a lot of things there, but I hope, I really encourage you. And if I could encourage all your viewers and everyone watching, is don't be afraid to dream big. Don't be afraid to go above and beyond. What does that look like? And maybe you guys are done with time and stuff, but I would encourage you with this. Everywhere I go, encourage those that are around you. And I had a high school teacher tell me this one time. It was like so non-biblical but biblical. What he said in school, he said, some of you guys want to work at McDonald's and you think your dream is to own a McDonald's, but what if God called you to own a fleet of McDonald's? And that impacted me. It's like, so now when I go places, I would encourage you. God bless my father's generation, and he was good to them. I can tell you testimonies of people that have been healed with cancer, people that couldn't get pregnant. You know, and a couple years ago, I married one of those kids that's a miracle baby, like of that generation. And it's like, I saw God. I saw God move in my generation where it's like, and I'm not old, but a generation that was confused. A second generation that like, wait, am I, you don't know what to check on the, you know, on your forms of voting. Like, are you white? Are you, because there's no Hispanic there.
No, it was other.
It was other, right? So we're I call it the confused generation. Like, we don't know what we are. And now there's this younger generation that are moving and pushing. God's going to use you guys to be the vessels of encouragement to say, we can do it. But believe it or not, they're already looking at you girls. This podcast is a prime example of them being able to say, I can voice my opinion. I can do it. So I will tell you that. Now you guys be the ones that inject energy and encouragement and belief into that next generation.
Can I ask what your question was earlier when we started?
Oh. Yeah.
I've been wanting to know.
That's why you've been so quiet.
No. I've been actually listening, but I was thinking about that.
So your viewers don't know, but I don't know if they do know or don't know, but you actually have like a vlog.
Oh,
and then you guys share, right? So different things like that. So obviously I look on there and I go on there and I kind of follow your podcast. And then your vlog was on there and you're doing snippets of your life, right?
Yeah.
And in one of those snippets, you said you were going to a night of worship at our church. And then
the video.
Yes. And you said you were going to review the church.
Oh, at your church.
Yeah.
Oh, I was like, wait, what are you talking about? Oh, yeah.
So
I did.
And I wanted to ask because, again, it's the learner mentality, right? It's not like, oh, they're going to criticize me. No. Most people are afraid of this. I learned this a couple years ago. There's something called evaluations. So I don't know if you do it at your church, but at our church, I tend to evaluate the weekend service every Tuesday. I stop and I'm like, how did I preach? Was it long? How's the worship team? And I write lists. We need to fix this. We need to fix that, right? So when I ask, I don't get offended easily. If someone tells me that was bad, that was terrible, like you need to fix this, because I'm not going to fix it if I don't know about it. And there's most pastors that will probably go a lifetime without fixing something because they never asked. So I was going to ask, keep it 100.
I didn't like it. No, I'm just kidding. No, I thought it was amazing.
I liked it.
Yeah.
I really did. I enjoyed the worship a lot. Okay. Obviously. But yeah, I liked it. I thought it was fun.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion.
My mom, because we talked about it in the car, but I forgot we had recorded saying we were gonna review it,
Yeah.
and then there's a lot of stuff happening that we never reviewed it. But my mom was saying that it reminded her of the cryouts you guys used to do.
Yeah.
So that's like it brought her back a little bit, and I was like, it was nice.
Also, if I was to ask you guys, because I want to know, my goal is to engage a younger generation that may not know about Jesus. So let me clarify why I said this. There's nothing worse that when there's pastors that go fishing in other people's tanks. I can't stand that. Like, I can't stand, like, right now there's a generation of wannabe musicians that learn how to play a few coritos at church and now want to church hop from church to church and never sit in a service, so they're never committed to a church.
Yeah.
And so what it is they're church hopping, and what it is you ask, like, who are your musicians? Well, they never had commitment to your church. You just borrow them, and they sit in the green room during the message, and they never grow spiritually, right? So if I was to ask you guys because I really genuinely want to know, and I know it's being recorded, so I love it, because I'm going to show it to my people, and I want honest opinions, like the honest truth. Seeing it from a non-believer's point of view, or even just a believer that was walking through the doors, what would you change and what would you add? And obviously it was a night of worship versus a weekend service.
Right.
But what would you guys see? Language, the message that was shared. What would you guys see?
I don't know if I'll add anything. I'll say my favorite part. As a first, second generation Hispanic, that my first language was Spanish, and your church is in Spanish, but I liked that it was almost bilingual.
Okay.
I personally liked that a lot. That it wasn't necessarily a translation, but you just included both without having to translate the whole thing, if that makes sense, because I understand both, and maybe that's just me selfishly, but I liked that it was just Spanglish, not English being translated to Spanish or vice versa, just Spanglish, if that makes sense. I liked that.
Can I add a little to that? And this is just so I encourage you guys too, right? So when we took over this church, we were very scared because I thought I needed to be relevant. So the relevant is there's churches that are bilingual, not to bash on bilingual churches, but I'm bilingual. I can't stand a bilingual church.
Right.
I will never go to a bilingual church because I feel like I focus so much on the translation that I'm not paying attention to the message, right?
Yeah.
So one of the things we decided with my wife is that this church will be 100% in Spanish, and the relevancy will not be the language or the culture. It would be the word of God. So it's funny because you say that because that night, because we've kept true to the word of God. So there's something called topical sermons, and then there's biblical sermons, right? Or when I say topical, like you could talk about like relationships, or you're talking about finances, or you're talking about different things that are happening in life, right? There's nothing wrong with that. If God calls you to that, that's awesome. But I'm more like, right now we're in a study where we're studying the Bible for 56 weeks. And not the 52, but 56 weeks. And obviously Easter is one of those that are offset. But I said, I want to be relevant with the scripture. I want to talk about the scripture, right? So that night that you came in is because there is now multicultural generations that are coming in because they see our culture of wanting to belong and be part of, but they love that I'm staying true to the scripture.
Yeah.
So now without me trying to be relevant and be bilingual, I'm having to share my points.
Yeah.
And it's funny because now I advertise it as we live in a multicultural society.
Yeah.
And now you're learning a little bit of Spanish. So that's why I'm not fully bilingual. I'm just a little bit of it.
Yeah.
So that's what we try to do.
I like it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was really fun.
What about you, Miss Ariana? Tell us.
You have any critiques?
No, I don't think so. Low-key, the wait, was it your guys' church? The mics were low?
I don't know.
I don't remember.
Might be it.
I felt like you couldn't hear when the guy was singing in the acoustic guitar. When he was playing, you couldn't really hear him.
Oh, he's gonna love you for that.
Really? No, it's because I was looking at that and I was like, I wish they would raise his mic a little more because we couldn't hear him when he was singing.
So those are the things that, like, I'm really good at. So I'll give you an
Oh,
example.
wait, can I say one more
Yeah.
thing? Sorry. And the projections too.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That was the only thing. Other than that, I loved it. It was fun. I was just looking at the projections they were.
So let me help you with that. And not let me clarify.
Okay.
I'm not giving excuses.
Uh-huh.
But so one of the things that I learned at the Anglo church, remember I told you spirit led and Anglo executive,
Yeah.
right? At the spirit led church, everyone's mic is up. There's some people that their mic should be off. Like they should not be singing. I'm gonna say it right. They're like their gifting is not singing, but because they're spirit led, para el Señor. And I'm be like, you messing up my worship time. And not that he can't sing. So let me clarify that. Because he's probably gonna watch it.
He's gonna be like,
bro. But I did learn there's something called lead vocals and background vocals. So he was a background vocal for most of those songs, right? So what does background vocals do?
Their mic is low. Yeah.
Right? Sometimes what happens is that background vocal is so off key and it's louder than the lead vocal is. So like we step into these places and they're like, wait, that's different. That's unique, right? So those are the little things. Projection, I'm key on that. So I am a visual learner. I am not an audible learner, so I can't sit there and I hate lectures. I just don't, right? So I'm one of those things. You guys stepped into our building we're currently trying to get the permits for a city. We got a LED wall coming in and all these things, right? And those are all excuses, right? But I love that you're telling me that because everything should be on the screen. Like, and that takes organization. So that's something your generation loves.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. At our church, we have a mobile app. So on Sundays when I preach, not only do you see all my sermon notes, but you're seeing fill-ins, you're seeing the sermon series, you see the art on the screen, and all that takes time. That doesn't get done Sunday morning before I go up there and preach, right? So like, for example, I'm already set with my sermons for about 10 weeks out. So I know what I'm preaching for the next 10 weeks. What does that mean? Now my worship team knows what they're singing. So they have no excuse why the lyrics shouldn't be on the screen, right?
Yeah.
And your generation sees those things. The other thing that happens is not only do I use Bible, but I use quotes from famous people. So I'll give you an example. I use quotes from like a Denzel Washington. I'll use quotes from like famous actors, or then like I'll talk about mental health. I talked about this weekend, I talked about Moses. So I talked about psychologists, right? What they say about healing in the heart and different things. Yeah. So I love that you're saying that because I think that's key. Not only that, but it sets the mood. Easter's coming up. With our LED walls coming up, there's one thing to have projector, but a big LED wall behind me. Not only am I going to talk about Calvary, but behind me, I'm going to be standing at Calvary. So I'm going to have the crosses. I'm going to have the background. I'm going to have the thunder going. And what it's doing is I'm setting the mood and the environment. So not only am I ministering to your thought, but I'm ministering to your emotions.
Right.
And I'm ministering to your eyes. So I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Wait, so he was a backup singer? Or sorry, but he led a song though.
Yeah, so that's what it is, right?
So they didn't raise his mic when he was leading. Okay,
so the sound tech is not to be el hermanito that sits in the back and just whatever. No, he
has
actually
to be
should be working.
Yeah.
Right? So when he leads, he brings it up.
Okay.
When he's not leading, he comes back, and whoever's leading comes up.
Okay. Sorry, I was still stuck on that. I was stuck on that because you were talking about the LEDs, but I was like, wait, so was he not supposed to?
Yeah. Sorry, I go on tangents.
No. Okay, wait. So what time is your guys' Easter service?
That's a great question because I'm gonna show you where I'm being tested at. So we usually have Sunday services at 10:30. Our service is running about an hour and 20 minutes. That's our service. Just that is a mind blower. I grew up in a church where we started at time and we would go 3 hours sometimes, right? So now what it is an hour and 20 minutes, very well organized, where it needs to feel organic. Easter, there's something called throwing out multiple nets. Jesus threw out multiple nets, fishermen, right? And he called Peter, you're going to be a fisherman of men, right? So we got to throw multiple nets. So my goal is our building fits maybe about, once we put all the chairs in, maybe about 200 people. But I don't dream for what I have. I dream for what God called me for. So I'm believing for 400 people to come Easter Sunday. So they don't fit in a 200 seat building, right? So I dream, I plan, and I pray for, and I fast for 400 people. That's what I do. Now if we get 300, it was more than what we had on Sunday, right? So what it is Easter Sunday, we're having a 10 and an 11 a.m. service with only a 45-minute service with a 15-minute transition. Now, here's the thing. This is where the discipline comes in. I can't waste my time with an hour and a half of announcements. Like, I only got 20 minutes to be precise, direct to my message, be good, authentic, and organic. Now, guess what? You might think, well, you get to study less. No, I actually need to study more. Because now I need to write my stuff out. But then I got to start taking things out. Like, I'm 30 minutes. No, I need to cut some more out. And it's like, so what happens is there's a lot of pastors that really should be doing that on Sunday. And your generation taught me this. Like, they'll look at a preacher and they'll be like, bro, he could have said that in 10 minutes. My generation in the corporate world, we said, that could have been an email. Why did you call a meeting? Right? So it's almost the same thing in Easter for us, you know? So, but if you're in the area, Costa Mesa, Generations Church. There you go. Come in. I'm sorry, I'm shameless plug.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Shameless Line in the Lamb is in our lobby. Everyone goes to Line in the Lamb.
Yeah.
They go there, so it's really good. Come check us out. And, leave us your honest opinion. That's the ultimate goal. Because it's not that we want you to stay. If you stay, you stay. But we also want to grow.
Yeah.
Right.
We want to bring non-believers into the door and
Valid.
get them connected.
Yeah.
Well,
thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for all the advice you gave us. We appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no problem.
All right. Thank you guys. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week. Please like, share, subscribe. Bye. Okay, guys.
We got this from our guest, Joe. We're just going to plug it in to see, and then maybe we'll put it here, just because we have the awkward little gap.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Here, we'll see how it looks. I'm sure we'll love it. We love it just like how it says. It's cute.
Aw, it's cute. Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, it's because it was... I was like, wait, what happened?
It only happens once, and then bottom it says, make it amazing.
Perfect. And it'll probably go here.
Yeah.